Hello and welcome to the next edition of our New South Wales Referees Life Member Series. Tonight we talk to a man who's done over 250 first grade games as a touch judge. He's touch judged at the international level, state of origin, and he has done a grand final. It's Brian Wiseman. Brian, how are you?
Very well, thank you, Daniel.
Now, day-to-day life has changed so much in recent times. How has the COVID situation affected you, and what have you been doing to keep yourself busy during that time?
It hasn't really affected me, except that I sort of missed out on two small jobs. I've been working for the RAS for a number of years, and now that the show was called off, of course that went, and also I work at the exams at the Catholic University at North Sydney. And they're gone. Well, they're gone that way too.
Okay, interesting. What are some of your pursuits since retirement from footy, away from refereeing?
Well, I may have said to you that cricket was always my number one game, and in 2011 I became a cricket umpire, a grade cricket umpire, and I pursued that for a number of years. I got up to second grade, but I was too old to go any further. They don't like taking you into first grade if you can't sort of make, if you're not going to be there to make the Sheffield Shield and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. If
you're good enough, and I don't think I would have been. But anyway, there was no question because I just didn't. I couldn't get there because of my age. So I sort of came down the ranks a little bit, and I had my knee replaced too, which didn't help me a lot. And I came down the ranks a bit, and I was doing games, in the heat out at I'm just trying to think, out past Blacktown anyway. And it used to get pretty hot out there.
Yep.
And I said, look, I think I'll drop back and go back to GPS cricket. Now, when you say drop back, you go to a very good grade. GPS cricket, the first grade, and most of the second grade are all good cricketers. A lot of them have been signed up already by the grade clubs, and when they leave school, they go straight into the grades. So that's really what I've done since, the rugby league refereeing.
Now, I believe cricket runs in the family. Your granddaughter?
It does. Granddaughter's a very good cricketer. She's on the photo there. I know what sort of shot that is, but I'll have to tell her she's not. The bat should be further over the shoulder. She's a little bit cross-batty there, but anyway, I better not go too crook on it because she did very well this year. She got into the first grade team of the year in Sydney women's cricket, and we're just hoping she can get a contract soon. But cricket's broke apparently, so I don't know what sort of contract you'll get. So yeah, I have, and I've also had a grandson who was the Northern District's Junior Cricketer of the Year. He scored 690 runs.
Wow. And
took about 29 wickets or something. He played for North Sydney in the Green Shield for about 2 or 3 years, and now he seemed to just give it away, unfortunately. Yeah. I've got a sporting family, actually. Netball was figured highly in the girls. Lauren, who's also a nurse and been working very hard out at Liverpool Hospital in the Corona COVID and in the emergency section. Margaret, my wife, she was a good player and a good coach, and also Julie, my daughter, she played representative netball too and they won the year Ride Eastwood won the competition. She in the state, she was in the side. On the boys' side, Matthew, who's 22. He's still playing. He's still playing rugby union. He went to St Pat's Strathfield, and also I got a young grandson who's 12. He played. He had a good year a couple of years ago down at Mossvale, and he scored 6 tries and kicked 7 goals or something for the season, which is not bad for a kid his age. And then I also got a little granddaughter, Ava. She plays netball. No, she plays soccer and touch football. Yeah, that's about all. I can't tell you about the cat because it never. Only sport it plays is catching rats. So.
So the sporting genes well and truly run through the Wiseman veins. Is cricket something, you mentioned it was your first sport, is it something that's always been in your blood? As a young boy, did you go to the cricket?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always went to the cricket, but Dad used to play with me in the backyard, and we always sort of got I learned a little bit there. Then when I was 12, I played in the under-16s, and yeah. But I was captain of our school first too, which sort of helped a bit. I played Green Shield for Bankstown, and yeah.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but work played a big role in your retirement from rugby league refereeing. Can you tell us a little bit about what work has been like for you across your career? What are some of the roles you've worked in?
Well, when I first got graded, at the time I got graded, I had a milk run. So I was pretty fit. And also then I went back into sitting behind a desk for a while, which got to me in the end, and I ended up buying a news agency, which was the reason, was towards the end of my career in rugby league that I just couldn't do. Like, fortunately, Dennis Braybrooke wore me, but I couldn't do the go to Brisbane and places like that because I had to be back in Sydney at least by 3 o'clock in the morning, and not a lot of planes between 11 o'clock and 3 o'clock in the morning. So that cast me out of that. But I was 46 or 47 when I retired, I think. And you come to the end of your time when you just, I was having trouble running running Eric Grove down, and that, I always made that, he's my mark. I said, when I can't keep up with Eric Grove, time to give it away.
Yep.
There'll be a few snickers over that, but anyway.
Did you always know which wing he was going to be on? Did you plan that out with the touch judge beforehand?
Well, I tried to get on the other one if I could.
All right, now let's have a look at the start of your refereeing career. So you took up the whistle way back in 1964 with Canterbury Bankstown referees. What made you decide to become a referee? And maybe, as you mentioned, cricketing was also a passion. So why did you choose rugby league refereeing at that time?
Well, I'd played rugby league quite a bit, and the year before I'd injured my knee, and I was having trouble kicking, and that was all I could do. I was only a good kicker, So I decided, how will I keep in the game? And to become a coach, you really had to have grade playing experience, like big grade, first grade playing experience, or you didn't sort of get recognised, or you got some really crook team, Yep. So I decided I'd give refereeing a go. And I rang up a bloke called Reg Dick, who was a life member of our association, a great man. And he said, "Oh, come down." He was pleased because he knew of me through playing in the juniors in Canterbury Bankstown. And also, he said, "Come down." And so down I went. And the first meeting I went to, I heard some of the blokes saying, "Oh, I've got a third grade line at the cricket ground." And I thought, "Oh, there's more to refereeing than just, running around Abbott Park or something like that, doing under eights." So, yeah.
Took off from there. So you worked your way through the Canterbury ranks with some success. You refereed the C grade grand final in 1966 and then B grade in 67. What was your grounding in the Canterbury district like for you?
Well, Canterbury had a lot of good referees. We never sort of achieved a lot in the centre, and funny in Canterbury. I think it might have had something to do with there wasn't much A grade up there, but we had a lot of good touch judges who'd done, there was a bloke called Johnny Martin, who was our president, who was also, I'm not sure if he's a life member or not, but anyway, Johnny Martin, and there was Reg, and there was a few others that, were able to help me, Johnny Farrelly, and we had a bloke who was he was a top junior referee by the name of Jack Harvey, and he was a good referee, but he used to work on a Saturday, so he couldn't put himself up for grade,
Okay.
So, yeah.
So in 1968, you were graded to the New South Wales ranks as member number 605. Can you paint the picture of how your grading came about?
Very lucky, I might say. There was 48 trying out, and there was only 6 places. My very first week was down at Newtown. I forget who was playing, but probably Newtown was playing. It was down at Henson Park, and the appointment board bloke of the day was actually a Canterbury bloke. I won't mention his name because I might say something about him later. So he didn't give me a good report at all. So I then came back, and my next game was at, I got another run at least. That was at Parramatta. And it was before, I think, a Wills Cup game. At any rate, I can't remember if that's right or not. But at any rate, George Bishop, who was on the board in those days, he was supposed to be on the game, and he didn't turn up. He got there late after our game had finished. And he just said to me, well, how'd you go? I said, I thought I went all right, So anyway, that kept me going the third week. And then the third week, I don't know where that was at, but in the fourth week, I was up at Penrith in the night. I'd never refereed in night time before. And I had the game going, flowing real good. And I thought, geez, this is all right. And just on half time, I threw a penalty and the bloke was down injured. So, and then they blew full time. So I called the game off with the penalty still flying,
Yeah.
Anyway, I went, oh, that's it, I've done it now. And when I came in, what's his name? One of the appointment board blokes, anyway, I won't worry about names. One of the appointment board blokes had come in early and hadn't seen the last minute or two. So my luck kept running, and then the last week I had Eastern Canterbury, and I think Jack O'Brien was on the board that day, and he sent me out to do the second grade. I was supposed to, and I thought I did handle it all right, So yeah, and a bloke called Bill Mullins played for East second grade. He was pretty well known, and he scored about 4 or 5 tries, and made the game open right up. He played really well. So I just ran with him and let him score. I wasn't going to stop him. Not tackling him anyway, for sure. Anyway, next week, the week after or something, I get graded. I reckon I came in number 6, but anyway, that's the way it was.
You only got to get that last place, and then you made
a
real big fist of it, which we'll talk about in a moment. So you well and truly served your apprenticeships in the lower grade. You make your first grade debut in 1976, which we'll talk about in a minute. How valuable were those experiences and the time that you spent in the lower grades, working your way up to first grade to set you up for a big, long career?
Well, one thing I can say, I knew where every ground was. So that was never a worry, because I'd been that many years there. But I was in between. I kept going back to the second division and be refereeing in the second division. And one year I got up to standby referee for second grade second division in the semi-finals. And but it all fell over after that. And, I didn't think I did another game after that in the centre. Cliff Brown, who was then became into the role of director of referees. He sort of, when I didn't get a game, I said, gee, I said, I finished as, he said, oh, we might have other things for you, you know. But I've got to say, he did give me a go, that guy. He did.
Yep. So it's at this point you move on to the touchline and you make your debut in 1976, as we mentioned. Your debut comes in round 2 when Parramatta plays South at Cumberland Oval. The referee was Jack Danzy and the other touch judge was Neil Clement. Did you feel you were ready at this stage? And what were your memories
Yes, I did.
of the
I was
occasion?
confident. Yeah, yeah.
And what were your memories of the experience?
Well, I remember it was also Ray Price's first game in first grade.
Oh, there you go.
And I'd had Parramatta the week before in second grade, and Ray Price had played second grade and played well. And he came in into first grade, and I remember Paul Sate whacked him, give him a good whack, and like, welcome to first grade. And I reported Sate when we got down the field a bit. I think you said Jack Danzy was the referee, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, I put a pretty strong report in against him, but Pricey's a pretty tough bloke, and he got up again off his feet, you know, and so he was all right. But yeah, I remember that, and it's funny that had I have retired on my grand final in 1976, that was the day. No, 1986. Sorry, that was the day Price retired too. But I didn't retire. I was looking for a run of whatever, which never happened. But anyway.
No, that would have been an interesting stat. Now, who were some of the mentors that helped your development from Canterbury through the grades?
Oh, I've got to say, Reg Dick, he was very good. Reg Dick, and also a bloke called Jack Harvey. I've probably mentioned him before. He was very good too. This is the juniors coming into grade.
Yep. And
I got a lot of experience running lines for Jack in the early days when he had the A grade, and I thought, gee, he handles this like it's nothing, you know. Yep. So, yeah.
And then who were some of the other mentors coming through your days in grade and then into first grade?
Well, Barry Cross, I ran with Barry quite a few times, and he was very good too. He was very calm, and he used to calm me down a bit, and I learnt that, just stay calm, we're here to enjoy ourselves, really. It's only a game.
Yep.
I know it's a bit crazy thought nowadays, but, it was only a game, and so Barry sort of slowed me right down, and he was very good. I was lucky to have him with me.
I think Peter Ryan, one of the life members that we interviewed before, he often got really nervous before games. Was that something that was on your mind before, I suppose, Barry stepped in and gave you that advice?
No, I didn't get really nervous. I didn't want to panic. That was the thing, I used to wait. If something happened, I'd wait and make sure I got it right.
Yep.
And I suppose I was a bit nervous because I remember in the days when I was running, probably old days would be right now, but they used to have clocks on the ground.
Yep.
And how many times, or what the time was, how long left in the game. And I used to always think, there's 10 minutes left. If I don't make a mistake between now and full time, should be in first grade again next year, So, yeah, next week. Yeah.
So who were some of the people you really enjoyed running with most? You had a time of great touch judges through the late 70s and early 80s. Who were some of the ones you enjoyed running with?
Well, I liked running with John Colenso, who unfortunately died at a very young age. He was very good. And also, I liked running with Doug Winton.
Okay.
Doug was a very funny man. There was times when the game would be pretty heated up, and you were sort of on your, and he'd come up with something and say something funny, and it sort of just broke it all down. And of course, as I said, Barry Cross, he was very good.
Yep. Now it's not long into your career, only your second season, in fact, that you achieve a magnificent achievement in being appointed to the 1977 World Cup final between Australia and Great Britain at the SCG. This must have been an extremely exciting opportunity for you, particularly seeing how early it was in your career.
Yes, it was. It was a surprise, although I had got an inkling I was going to get a game. I didn't know it would be this game because I was Cole Brown. He said to me, "You keep your nose clean. There could be something more in it for you." And I thought, I'm going to get a preliminary game, like Wales versus France or something like that. But it never happened. And I thought, oh, God, I wonder what he's talking about. I've missed out. And all of a sudden, here I come up on the final. That really was a bit of a shock. But, I enjoyed it. I loved it.
Yep. And do you have many memories from this experience? They had was it the English referee, Billy Thompson, refereeing the game?
Yeah, well Cliff appointed myself and the other touch judge. I think it was Brian from, I can't think of his second name now. Brian, it was from Balmain. And we were appointed to the Amco Cup game on the Wednesday night. And he appointed Billy to it too. So we get used to running with Bill. So I got to know Bill. He had this fetish about Paul Sate because he refereed the World Cup in England, and Paul Sate had run amok over there apparently. And so to this day, I still think he blew a penalty coming out of the change room because he reckoned Paul Sate was offside. But I said, wait till we get on the field first. Anyway, but he was a good referee, Billy. But having said that, on the game day, I think it was the first half, he made a mistake. Australia dropped the ball, and one of the English players picked it up and got it out to the centre, who got it out to the wing, who made a long run. Now, Billy had blown his whistle for a knock-on. And the bloke's away going down the wing, and he was being chased by Mark Harris and someone else. I can't think who it was. Anyway, I went with them, slightly behind, but the idea was to clean up with them if I could, just to make sure they didn't get into any trouble. And I was screaming out to them, the whistle's gone, the whistle's gone, And anyway, I remember that. But when we came down in the second half, I had to bring the English team out. And I was just amazed. And we got held up by the halftime entertainment or whatever it was. And I remember I was standing there inside the green cape ushered me into the dressing room, and two of the English players come up to me and said, "What do you think of Billy?" And I said, "Oh, I think he's a good referee. He's a very good referee." And they said, "Yeah." But I thought, how good's this? Yep. My second year and here I am talking to two English players in virtually what was a test match, Yep. And I just thought it was great, That's really got to me.
Yep. Now, also this year, you received your first grand final appointment in grade, being there on grand final day at the SCG for the reserve grade grand final between Manly and Parramatta. Again, it must have been a bit of a thrill early on in your career, being there on grand final day and experiencing that atmosphere at the SCG.
Well, I only got it because one of the blokes in the first grade had made a bad error, and I think Arthur Beetson got sent off or something. Okay. And so he got dropped. So they had to take a bloke out of second grade up to there. And I don't know where I came from, whether I think I'd done a third grade semi-final, but hadn't made the grand final. And all of a sudden I come out of the third grade semi-final straight onto the second grade grand final. That could be wrong, but it's pretty right,
I think it goes to show, like with many in refereeing, when you get your opportunity, you just got to take it.
Oh yeah, you do. No risk. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I think 1980 was a bit of a breakout year for you. The first appointment of note of that year was in the then named Tooth Cup final between Parramatta and Balmain. Do you remember much of this experience?
I just remember it was refereed by Greg Hartley. Now, Greg had never, every time he refereed Parramatta, they got beat, and he was hated at Cumberland Oval, but this was at Leichhardt Oval, of course. And people were still booing him, even though Parramatta had won, So I just remember that. That's really all I can remember about it,
Yep. Now, you were quite successful in this competition. It became the Panasonic Cup. You were appointed to the grand finals in 1984, 85, 86, and then 88. You must look back on this achievement with great pride. You were very consistent.
Well, I always thought it was the second prize. I used to, when I saw my name come up, I'd say, oh, I won't be getting the first grade. There's the first grade gone, grand final gone. But, I suppose I'm being a bit harder there because, yeah, it was. When you see it on paper, it's pretty good, really. I mean, I've still got the cups from it. They come, I open the cupboard up sometimes, they come down and hit me on the head. I'll pick it up and have a look. Oh, what year was that? Yeah.
I'm sure that trophy cabinet is very, very full. Now, you mentioned earlier about work. How did you find the balance, particularly with these midweek games, with work, training and family commitments at the time?
Well, I've got a very good wife. I'd have to say that. And I wouldn't have been able to get anywhere without things she did for me. And, like my trousers were always, those days we had to have them starched and all that. They were always ready for me. So, I didn't have a great problem that side. And just getting to work, that was all right. There was no problem there.
Yep. And did you have to back up on the weekend too with the midweek games?
Yeah, sometimes you did. Yeah. I think the big part of backing up came if you had a game on the cricket ground, like the match of the day at the cricket ground, then you had to, you were generally given a 2 second division lines on the Sunday. And there was a few of the senior guys didn't take too kindly to that, but it didn't worry me. I thought, well, and while they were going crook and dropping out, I come up and did them. I was quite happy to make myself available.
Yeah. Now, also in 1980, you're appointed to the City versus Country match, also at the SCG. What were your recollections of this experience?
I remember that Brian Grant was on the other touchline. Greg Hartley refereed the game. I can't remember a great deal about it. Nothing really stood out that much. I thought it might have been a little bit faster than the normal grade game, but I don't know if that's right.
Yep. Now, the match was based on where players used to ply their trade at that time. But country was still fairly competitive in those days due to the strength of bush footy. How did you find the different style of play?
Well, they were certainly up to scratch. I don't know what the score finished up, but I think it was 8-5 or something at one stage, something like that. And I don't, maybe that was the full-time score, or it wasn't. I don't think City ran away with it, no. Yeah.
Yep. And you mentioned Brian Grant. In those days, I know he eventually came to Sydney, but those were the days we used to have a country touch judge and a city touch judge.
Yep. He came from Grafton, I believe, or certainly up the North Coast.
Yep. Very funny man, very funny man. Now, continuing to focus on your success in 1980, you were appointed to the second interstate match. Later, we will touch on your official Origin debut, but can you give us a bit of background what the interstate football was like at that time, and were there whispers of Origin on the horizon?
Well, it was certainly dying. This game was at Leichhardt Oval. I've got my first state game, and guess where it is? Leichhardt Oval. But anyway, that was first interstate game, and it was at Leichhardt, as I said. I think there would have been no more than 10,000 there, maybe something like 5,000 or 6,000 there. And it wasn't a great game, but I know Wally Lewis played. That was his first game he played. So,
And I think was Eddie Ward the referee, I think?
Eddie Ward was the referee, now, yes, yeah.
Very successful in 1980. You also received another grand final appointment in grade when you touch judged the under-23s grand final between Parramatta and Balmain. Now we'll move on. We now know the official State of Origin matches commenced in 1980 as one-off games, but the first actual series comes in 1982. You touch judged the first game of the series at Lang Park. What were your memories of firstly being informed of the appointment and then the lead up and the travel to the game?
I can't remember who rang me to tell me, but I got a bit of a surprise that I had actually got it, although I was probably running about 3 or 4 at the time, and so that was the third one. And Max Tomset and Ian McCall had been on the first 2, which had turned into big fights, refereed by overseas referees. One guy from England who was, I can't remember his name, and a bloke from New Zealand. And they hadn't handled them all that well. So on the Saturday before the game, Kevin Roberts had been appointed to the game, and we did a Canterbury and South game at Redfern, and before the game, Kevin Humphreys, who then was the CEO of New South Wales Rugby League, or maybe even Australian, no, I don't think he was Australian Rugby, New South Wales, and he came up and said, look, there's to be no fights. We want a game of football. It's doing the game no good at all these fights in this big game. So I remember that part. Then I just remember flying up to Brisbane. Yeah.
So it must have been an experience like no other to date in your career, especially being at Lang Park. How was the atmosphere, and how did it compare to week first grade?
Yeah, the atmosphere was unbelievable. Even before the game started, we came down to the ground and had a look on Lang Park, and honestly, it was like a backyard paddock. It was terrible. The condition, the ground was in terrible condition. I know it's changed now, but it was in terrible condition. And we came down past the what's the famous pub there, just up the top of the ground. Anyway,
the Caxton.
The Caxton. Yeah, Caxton. And they were all. We came past the car, and with a couple of Queensland blokes, and they said, "Get down," because if they see you, they'll all start booing and throwing things. So anyway, we went back to our hotel, and Kevin had to have his boiled eggs or something, for a game. And so we went back down to the ground then, and got our gear and went back to the ground. And just trying to think now. When we came out on the field, of course, we got booed, except for the Queensland touch judge. He got cheered, and we got over the other side, and we just got there, and this is good. This, I don't know if you're watching the thing here, but I think this is where it was 1 up and 1 down. I could be wrong. Anyway, don't worry about that. Oh, it looks pretty close when it's 1 up. Oh,
both up.
Oh, I went up. Maybe I made a mistake. Anyway, too late now.
Camera angle.
Now, but
camera angle.
Right.
Yeah, it was the camera angle.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Switch it around again. And a lady up there makes flags for the touch judges, and I got the New South Wales flag, but I gave it to the Queensland guy, and he gave me his. So I've got a Queensland flag, and he's got New South Wales. She used to make flags for all the touch judges for the interstate games.
Yep.
And when I went out there, they kicked off. I don't know if they kicked off or not, but I just got to the other side. I was on the far side, and they set off all these fireworks, and we never had fireworks. They're going bang, crash. Geez, they're getting fair dinkum, And of course, there's a bloke called Ziggy Niscott, and that'll be one that'll surprise a few people. But he was on my wing, and he went down and scored in the corner.
Yep.
And he didn't take someone took the corner post out, but it wasn't he. And I just kept coming around. Oh, I didn't keep coming around. I stood in the corner and said, that's a try. And they were all booing when I got around, and throwing things and that. So it was always plenty going on.
Yeah, you made a couple of reports in the second half. I've asked a lot of the Life members, those flags you mentioned, they're massive that the woman made.
Yeah, well, they're big. They're triangular.
Yeah. No, they were very big indeed.
Yeah.
Did you get to take any family up? Did Margaret get to go up?
No, we didn't. Not in those days, we didn't, no. But towards, not long after, they were taking their wives up and that, yeah.
Yep. So if we were to talk about each of your reserve grade grand finals individually, we would run out of time on this recording. You've achieved such an incredible feat and have been so consistent. I'll quickly run through them. You did 1977, as we mentioned, Manly and Parramatta. In 1981, you did Wests and Parramatta. 83, you did Manly and South. 84, Balmain versus St George. And 85, St George versus Canberra. Can I ask you your thoughts on these experiences? Were there anything that stood out in particular out of any of the games?
I reported a bloke from South in the South Sydney, what would that be, about 84, I think.
83, Manly and South.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, that's what the game was, Manly and South. And he said to me, I'll get you after the game. I thought, that's interesting. And the two Manly ball boys said to me, did you hear what he said to you, sir? And I said, Dad, don't worry about it. But I thought, this bloke had been, I think his name was Byrne, and this bloke had been causing a bit of trouble, giving touch judges a workout for quite some time. So I thought, I'm not going to let him get away with this. But I didn't go on the field. I'm not going to let the play finish. And when full time came, I came on the field and I reported to the referee, which was Stoney, I think. No,
that one was Barry Barnes.
Barry Barnes, yeah. Yeah, I reported to Barry Barnes that he had threatened me. And so I had to go, the season wasn't over, we had to go down. Well, I could hardly he brought in, the rugby union bloke, Kenny Wright.
Okay. Yeah,
Ken Wright, yeah, who played 5'8" South. Anyway, he brought him in, say, he hadn't said anything. Anyway, I had a good look at the video of the thing, and Ken Wright was nowhere near.
Yep.
Yeah, and I pointed that out to him, and I said, you're nowhere near it. You don't know what you're talking about. But I couldn't very well bring the ball boys in. They're too young, Yep. But they heard it, and anyway, of course, he got out of it, and of course, I couldn't prove it. But I just wanted to let him know that we were there.
Yeah. Now, can I ask you about the feeling of coming so close to the big dance each year? Was this something that drove you to keep pushing forward in your career, striving for that maiden grand final?
Well, in 85, Stoney tells people up at the Foster Golf Club about this, but I went to throw my boots out because I was going to retire out the window, and he said he caught them. Yeah. At any rate, that wasn't quite so, but I did think about it, but I thought, I've got to do something different, and if you keep doing what you've always been doing, you're going to keep getting what you got.
Yeah.
That's cliche, this, but so I thought I'd change it, and I started to train 3 days a week. I went down to do not get my ticket, but go down. I went down to all the lessons down in Phillip Street, and it was funny. As I came in, the bloke who was running, I don't know who it was now, I can't remember. He looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" So, but I just thought I'd try and up things a bit, and it may have worked for me.
Yep. So many of the life members and former first grade officials I speak to talk so highly of you, and you're obviously very well respected as a touch judge. What did you build your game on, or what were some of the core focuses for you as a touch judge throughout your career?
Well, I suppose concentration was a big thing. Try and concentrate right through the game. Don't go wandering around, looking at the crowd or, I don't mean behind me, but over the other side of the field. So I always tried to, and I think that's what helped me in cricket too. I could concentrate for long periods. And this is what got me by, I think.
Now, another milestone, in the middle of the 1986 season, you were appointed to the second test match between Australia and New Zealand, again at the SCG. The referee this time was Englishman Robin Whitfield. What are your recollections of this test match? And ironically, it came at the same ground all those years earlier that you did the World Cup final.
Well, I also went and I took the English out, and or I had to go into the room to check their boots and that sort of thing. And I just remember I'm with New Zealand on the wrong team, New Zealand room.
Yep.
And I just remember the coach imploring the New Zealanders to lift their game. Come on, we can do this, sort of, And it was very interesting to, I thought his speech was very strong. I didn't think, I don't want to be too critical of anyone, but I didn't think the English referee he wasn't up to the standard of our second division referees, quite frankly, I didn't think. And he came back later to referee here, and he didn't make it, and he went back to England. But I do remember one of the Sorensens, I think it was Kurt, he stiff-armed Wally Lewis, and he hit him that hard, I thought he's killed him, And Wally got up straight away to his feet. He had a lot of courage, Wally, and he had the mark across his forehead where he got hit. So, but he wasn't, I reported it, he wasn't interested in the bit, Whitfield or whatever his name was, and I just said, this, and he said, he just ignored me and said, I told you, Peter, he's talking to Peter Tunks, I told you not to do this and do that, and, so I was very disappointed. Then he wrote in the paper up in Brisbane, because that's where the third test was, he wrote in the paper that the touch judges in Sydney kept coming on the field. Well, John and I think John might have come on once and I came on once, that's all,
Yeah, just doing your job, doing your role.
Yeah.
Now, in those days, it was a bit different with touch judging. You actually used to have to go knock on the door, get the teams out, and you wouldn't come out as a team of referees. You'd actually come out behind the line of players, and that could be quite difficult if the change rooms are in different parts of the ground.
Well, yeah, that only came in when what's his name became CEO. I can't think of his name. Anyway, he's well known. He had something to do with the Olympic Games and all that sort of thing. When he became CEO of the referees, CEO of the rugby league, and therefore filtered down to the referees, and he didn't want us to be seen at all. Our names didn't appear in the paper anymore. I don't know if they were in the program. They may be in the program, but we never used to pick our appointments up. They'd come in the paper on the Telegraph or Herald on a Tuesday morning. That didn't happen anymore, and things like that just changed. And yeah, it was a little bit different. But I thought the funniest thing was when I'd been appointed to the World Cup final in '77, and Cliff Brown was the manager of the Australian team as well that year. And I knocked on the door, and he's opened the door, and I didn't know whether to thank him or, so I just said no, I'll just say nothing, Yeah.
Now, in 1986, the moment arrives. You're appointed to the first grade grand final between Parramatta and Canterbury. Firstly, what did this mean to you and your family, and how did you find out?
Well, Dennis Bradwood rang me to say I had the game, but I probably got the game the week before that when I was appointed to the final. And I'd been on the semi-final between South and Balmain, which had ended up in a brawl, and Roach got sent. Oh no, he didn't get sent. I don't think. Anyway, I was on the far side. I was looking, but anyway, there was a blue, and Roach was supposed to have tried to headbutt someone. I think it was Phil Gould, who was playing for South at the time. And so Kevin Roberts, who was the referee, and John Colenso was the touch judge, they got dropped. And they said, oh, it wasn't your fault, you couldn't see. But you know, I'm not going to come up and say something now that I've been hiding for years, but I did see it, and I didn't see it clearly, but I saw Gould throw a punch at Roach, and I saw Roach. I don't know if it hit him or not, but I saw Roach move forward, and I saw his head go. Now I don't know if he connected or not, so I thought, well, I'm going on that because I'm not sure. You know, they'll pull me up for sure. You know.
Yep. So
my family were very proud that I got the grand final anyway.
Yep. So the match itself, it was scoreless. It was a very tough match between Parramatta and Canterbury. What are your memories of the encounter?
Very, very hard game. A lot of niggle back play, you know. I thought Stoney handled it very well.
Yeah. You didn't need to come on for the Phil Sigsworth. That was fairly straightforward.
Oh, straightforward, yeah. Probably that was the only mistake he made. I thought he was a bit harsh and poor old Phil off. He just stuck his arm out. There was no malice in it, you know. But anyway, he did, and that's fair enough. That's the rules, and that's the rules.
Yep. So after a highly successful career, you retired at the end of 1988. Can you tell us a little bit about this period?
Yeah, well, apparently in that 86 grand final, the winger on my side was coat hanging by Andrew Farrer. And I was just following the ball down the touchline. I saw he got hit. I wasn't in a position. He was right on the touchline sort of thing. I was trying to make sure he didn't step out. That's my excuse anyway. And he got hit, and someone had to wear the blame, so I had to wear the blame, apparently. I didn't find this out until the next season when I started to get games that were telling me that you're going nowhere this year. And, you know, I only hung on to try and do another one because I enjoyed it so much.
Yep. Now, we've got some photos here from your last first grade game. It was round 92. It was round 22 in 1988, Cronulla versus St George at Endeavour Field. What were your memories of this day?
Well, I certainly I lived up to the name of Whizzer because the bloke got sent off on my report, and it wasn't a brilliant game or a hard game, but you know, Wynn came through with the ball. He was carrying the ball, carrying high, and he drove his arm into Gavin Miller's nose. Absolutely broke it completely, you know. And I was waiting for Brian Grant, who was refereeing the game, waiting to see if he's seen it or not. And when he didn't make any approach to see that he'd seen it, give me any indication he'd seen it, I came in and said to him, oh, this is a bad one, to give him an indication what I was thinking. And we called him out and he got set off. And I remember he didn't turn up for the first, I had the news agency at the time, he didn't turn up for the first two or three sessions of the judiciary. And finally they rang me and said, oh, look, he's ready to come this time. And I said, look, if he doesn't come, I'm finished because I'm retired. I'm not going again. So at any rate, he turned up and he brought with him the personality solicitor, Chris Murphy. And Chris Murphy starts coming up with, now on my video, I can see clearly that it wasn't an incident. It wasn't even the incident. It was something else that happened earlier in the match, which I'd seen, but I thought the bloke was putting on an act. And so anyway, I said, well, didn't show that on my video. He said, what video? So I thought he's not going to get away with that for me. So I was quite prepared to have a go at him, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you retire at the end of 1988, but away from the field, and even during your active career, you contributed a lot to the association, particularly in the role of assistant secretary. It must have been a proud moment for you to receive the then named George and Amy Hanson Trophy in 1985 for your service.
Yes, it was. That was, strange enough, I felt more proud about that than I did about the life members. Well, I suppose they're intertwined some way or other. But yeah, I was surprised, but I was proud of it, yeah.
Yeah. So a year later, you received the ultimate recognition by being awarded life membership. Do you remember much of this occasion, and what does it mean to you to have this recognition?
Well, it means a lot, of course. You've got to, well, you're talking to me tonight because of it, and I just was so proud of that. And it was funny, the other fellow who got the life membership that night was
Arthur Neville?
Arthur Neville, thank you very much. Now, when I had my milk run, Arthur was one of my customers.
Oh, there you go.
So everything seems to be intertwined, and yeah.
Yep. Now, you still enjoy the social aspect of refereeing and being able to catch up?
Yeah, I love being with the guys on grand final luncheon. It's really great. I just feel so happy to be there,
Yep. Now, the game has given us so much, particularly in our domain as referees. What are some of the most important assets that you'll take away from your time as a referee in rugby league, both on and off the field?
I thought the camaraderie between all the referees is fantastic. You never put a bloke down. If you start putting blokes down, well, you'll go down yourself. And they were just, blokes who always stuck by you. If you're in trouble, they were there. And, wonderful lot of men they were, I thought. And I've made some wonderful friends. Unfortunately, a couple of them have died. And I suppose there's going to be more die. And that's it, it's not me first. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate.
Well, I'm in the 80th year, so yeah. Sorry.
But I think many of those members you mentioned, their memories live on through trophies and awards and through these social days. As you say, many stories are told about the good times that we had with them. Now we might head on to our fast five to finish off, a bit of the lighter side. Barbecue or tomato sauce?
Barbecue.
Ford or Holden?
Holden.
Holden. Did you ever own a Holden in your day?
I had what was the smaller car? It was made by
Tirana.
Yeah, Tirana. I had a Tirana. Yeah.
They're worth a lot of money nowadays. State of Origin or Grand Final?
I think Grand Final, because you work all the year for the Grand Final. You can miss out early in the season or at least blot your copybook early in the season. But, that's the one you keep going for. Whereas the State of Origin, the State of Origin is different now to when I did it. It's definitely a big show now.
Entertainment perspective. Yep.
Yeah, but on my experience, definitely the Grand Final.
Beach or snow?
Oh, beach.
And lastly, money or free time?
Can I have both?
You can have whatever you want.
I'll go free time.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for your time today, Brian. You've had an absolutely tremendous career, full of many achievements, and you're looked up to by many of our peers in the game, and particularly those from that era. Stay safe. Look after Margaret and the rest of your family, and hopefully they get to get back to their sporting endeavours in the near future.
Thank you very much, Daniel, and thanks to your wife, Imogen, for obviously allowing you the time to do this. Thanks very much.
No dramas at all. I look forward to meeting you sometime soon.
Surely, yeah.
Bye for now.